Good morning, students. Myself, G.Radha, Senior Lecturer in CCP from Government Polytechnic for Women, Warangal. Now, in today's class, we will be discussing about the topics functions of a motherboard, different types of input-output units, layout of keyboard, functions of keyboard. In the previous class, we have already discussed. In the previous class, we have discussed about the topics. What is a memory? What are the different types of memories? and and their functions, and we have also discussed about the devices and functions of devices of floppy drive, hard disk drive, tape drive, CD drive, DVD drive. In today's class we'll be discussing about the topics functions of a motherboard, different types of input output units, layout of keyboard, and functions of keyboard. So what is a motherboard? Okay, students, what is motherboard? We have already discussed in the yesterday's class that hard disk will be on the motherboard. We have discussed what is hard disk. So hard disk is on the will be existing, that is used for storing of data. It is a type of hard disk is a type of memory which is present on the motherboard. So let us see, students, what is a motherboard? Is the main circuit board inside your PC. It is a main circuit board inside the computer system. The CPU, ROM chips, SIMs, DIMMs, and the interface cards are plugged into it. Okay, students, all these are plugged into the actually main motherboard. Every component at some point communicates through the motherboard either by directly plugging into it or by communicating through one of the motherboard ports. Okay, so every component, every part that is present in the computer systems will be communicated to the communicated to the motherboard through some ports or by plugging into that. Okay, students, so what is a motherboard? Motherboard is a main circuit board inside your PC. Next point. So we are discussing about what is a motherboard in bullet points. Next, one big communication highway. Motherboard is a one big communication highway. Its purpose inside your PC is to provide a platform for the other components and peripherals to take to each other. Okay, through motherboard only, the computer system, every connections and communications will be done in the computer systems. Okay, students. So this is the slide which is showing the picture of a motherboard. You can see here, see the motherboard picture here in this slide. Here we have the motherboard inside the computer system, that is CPU box. That is CPU box will be there in the computer system. There in CPU box, when you open the CPU box, the motherboard will be like this. So these are the parts, different parts of motherboards you can see here. Socket 478 connector, 12V ATX power connector, back panel connectors. These are the parts. Okay, back panel, AGP slot where you actually keep, that is AGP slots. Then you have aux in header. Okay, this is aux in header, CD in header. Then what is this one? This is CD, that is Intel 82801EB Southbridge chipset. Okay, students. Then you have USB headers. These both are USB headers here. Then you have serial ATA headers, PCI slots. Okay, PCI slots. These are PCI slots. 3 PCI slots you can see here. Then you have, that is Intel 865G Northbridge chipset. Then hard disk drive headers. These are hard disk drive headers. Then that is a floppy disk drive headers. These are the FDD floppy disk drive headers. And then ATX power connector. Then you have DDR DIMM memory slots. Okay, these are the slots where we actually keep the RAMs. Okay, students, RAMs are kept here on this one. So these are DDR DIMM memory slots. Okay, so this is a motherboard, and these are different parts of motherboard. Okay student, now let us proceed to the next slide. Now, what motherboard contains? We have seen graphical, that is pictorial, that is picture of motherboard and its different parts. Now we'll see the list of components. Is listing the components in this slide. Motherboard contains the following components: CPU, CPU heat sink and fan, RAM, ROM BIOS, South bridge, North bridge, CMOS battery, PCI slots, AGP slot, add-on cards, ports, FDD and HDD interface cables. So all these are the parts of motherboard. Okay students. List of ports. So list of ports in motherboard. What are the ports you have in a motherboard? Ports are, you can see here, ports at the back side of CPU. There will be connections. That is, you to connect the keyboard to the CPU box or mouse to the CPU box. You have some connectors. You can say that is ports. Okay. So a port is a hardware unit, which helps in connecting an input output device to the computer for communication. So what is a port? It will be at the back of the CPU port. A port is a hardware unit which helps in connecting an input output device to computer for communication. Okay students, so these are the list of different types of ports. Here it has been given, that is mouse port to connect to mouse, keyboard port, USB port, okay, to connect pen drives. USB port is used for connecting the pen drives. Serial port, parallel port, VGA port, okay, for connecting the monitor. Sound port for connecting the sound boxes. Ethernet port is for connecting the internet. Okay, internet. Then game port. For playing games also, you can connect a port. Okay, students. So this is about the ports. So in this slide, you can see the picture of a slots, that is ports. Picture of ports at the back of CPU. These are the pictures of ports. See here. This is nothing but PC2 keyboard connector, PC2 mouse connector, and you have USB ports. Okay, these are USB ports, two in on top and two in the bottom. Serial communication ports, VGA port for connecting to the computer, parallel port, okay students, audio out jack, microphone jack, line in jack. Then you have gigabit RJ45 Ethernet LAN port. This is LAN port where you connect the internet. Okay. Okay students, these are the different types of ports which we can see at the back of the CPU. So what is a port? Port is a hardware unit which helps in connecting an input output devices to computer for communication. So what are the different types of ports we have seen here? Mouse port, keyboard port, USB port, serial port, parallel port, VGA port, sound port, Ethernet port, game port. Okay students, so these are the different types of ports, and this is a picture which is showing the ports at the back of the CPU box. Now let us come into the actual topic. Today's topic is about functions of motherboard. So what are the functions of motherboard? We have seen what is a motherboard. What is motherboard? We have seen that is nothing but a main circuit board inside your PC. What it is? It is a main circuit board inside your PC for plugging into for plugging for plugging the components of computers through one of the motherboard ports. Okay, so it is a main circuit board inside your PC. Okay students, now let us see the functions of motherboard. Components hub. First function of motherboard is Components hub. It is components hub. A primary function of the motherboard is to serve as the base upon which a computer's components are built. Okay, it is a main important primary function is to serve as the base upon which a computer's components are built. Actually, the connection of the different connections of the computer will be managed by this motherboard. A hub that houses a number of essential components such as central processing unit, system memory, RAM and graphics card. Okay. On the motherboard, you can see central processing unit, system memory, RAM. I have shown you RAM chip where we keep the RAMs here, and graphic cards. Okay students, this is nothing but a first function of motherboard, that is components hub. It is one of the components hub. Hub means where we actually the connection starts. Next function of motherboard is computer circuitry means computer's main circuit board. Motherboard is a computer's main circuit board bearing all the basic circuitry and components that are required for the computer to function. It contains all the components that is required by the computer to function, basic circuitry. Okay, it has electrical pathways called buses which enable data to be relayed to the different computer components as well as between them. Okay, it has many electrical paths, that is connections, electrical connections, that is called buses, which enable data to be relayed on the different computer components as well as between them. So this is about the second function of motherboard. Third function of motherboard. What is third function of motherboard? Data traffic. Okay students, what is this data traffic? So communications hub for all the components that are attached to it directly or indirectly. What it will do? It will communicate between the components, different types of components. Suppose for example CPU to RAM. Okay, RAM to CPU like this, or arithmetic logic unit. Okay, communication, it acts as a communication hub. Okay, responsible for managing the traffic of information within the computer system, which it does by means of the motherboard chipset, responsible for managing the traffic of information. Okay, the information which is passed into the computer system is managed by the motherboard. Okay, next, the function of the motherboard chipset is to direct the flow of data through the computer components require or acquire. So chipset, this is nothing but a motherboard chipset. What it will do? It will help in managing the data, okay, which is required by the computer system. Flow of data, which is required by the computer system. Next function of motherboard is BIOS. Okay, students. So BIOS, BIOS. What is the full form of BIOS? Basic Input Output System. Okay, this is a one of the main important function of motherboard. Has a built-in read-only ROM, read-only memory, which is separate from PC's RAM and which contains the computer's basic input-output system. Input-output system BIOS, it contains. A key function of the BIOS is to manage the boot up process when you power your system computer on and load your operating system. Okay, actually what will happen? So the motherboard acts as a BIOS, basic input output system, which helps in booting up. Whenever you switch on the computer system, what will happen? A process starts, that is nothing but called booting process, in which ROM comes into picture. Read only memory, that is it contains a configuration of computer system. Okay, it loads your operating system. This is one of the function, very important function of motherboard. Now let us proceed to the next slide. Next function of motherboard is peripherals. Peripherals means different parts of the computer systems. Allows for the use of external components and devices, which greatly increases the versatility of the computer system, include printers, keyboard devices, audio jacks, external hard disk, and games controllers. Okay, it allows the use of external components and devices, which greatly increases the versatility of a computer system. Okay, that is includes the printers, keyboard devices, which we can peripherals for connecting the printers, keyboard devices, audio jacks, external hard disks. Okay, this all is managed by the motherboard. Even games controllers. These peripherals can be connected to the computer by plugging them directly into the motherboard by means of external ports. They are connected to the computer by plugging them directly into the motherboard by using means of external ports. Suppose for example, you have a hard disk drive. Actually, you have only one hard disk drive inside the computer system through which I can add the softwares. Okay, I can add the softwares. Suppose for example you want to have an external hard disk drive for usage. Hard disk drives contains the data which is present in the computer system. It stores the data present in the computer systems. Suppose there is another hard disk drive which is which belongs to the other computer system. You want to use that hard disk drive, then you can plug this hard disk drive through some external ports, sockets and connectors which are built into it. So motherboard contains all these ports which we can plug in, that is external ports. It contains external port for connecting the external hard disk. Okay, these peripherals can be connected to the computer by plugging them directly into the motherboard by means of external ports, sockets and connectors which are built into it. Okay students, so this is one of the function of motherboard, that is peripherals. Now let us proceed to the next slide. So, data representation in computers. How we represent the data in computers. How the computers take the data. All the data in computer is internally stored in the form of zeros and ones. I have already discussed with you in the previous classes. What is a computer? Computer is an electronic device which take input, process that input and gives the output, but it does not understand English language. So what it will do? It will convert the decimal value of a English alphabet. Suppose I have told you in the previous class, that is A, alphabet small a. Alphabet small a, its decimal value is 65. 65 decimal value is converted into, that is binary, that is bits, that is zeros and ones, and it will be understood by the computer system. A bit can be defined as an electronic signal which is either on or off. Okay, the capabilities of storage devices or the main memory are always measured in terms of bytes. The capacities of storage devices or the main memory are always measured in terms of bytes. Okay, students. So, in computers, the data is internally stored in the form of zeros and ones, which are called bits. Means a bit is an electronic signal which is either on or off. One is on and zero is off. The capacities of storage devices or the main memory are always measured in terms of bytes in computer system. So this is about the data representation in computers. Okay students. For example, you can here in this slide it is showing an example. I have typed I love you India. It means I have typed 12 bytes, that is 10 letters and 2 spaces. Okay students, 1 2 3 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. So 10 letters and 2 spaces is nothing but 12 bytes. It is occupying the memory 12 bytes. Okay students. Now, so we have seen what is motherboard, okay, and what are the functions of motherboard. What is a motherboard? It is the main circuit board inside your PC. And what are the functions of motherboard? We have seen that is nothing but the functions of motherboard are components hub, computer circuitry, data traffic, BIOS, peripherals. Okay, these are the main functions of motherboard. Then we have seen how the data is represented in computer systems. Now next topic we are going to discuss is what are the input and output devices in computer system. Input devices. So what is input device? A device which is used to send data to computer is called an input device. Okay student, what is input device? A device which is used to send data to the computers is called an input device. So keyboard, mouse are the input devices in the computer system. Purpose of an input device: to facilitate communication between user and computer. Input device, it acts as a mediator between the user and the computer system. Okay students, now what are the then input devices? What are input devices? You have is punched hole devices, oldest and cheapest input output devices. Cards and paper tapes are the two most familiar punched hole devices. Data is recorded on these in the form of punched holes using some standard code. Okay, this is the oldest and cheapest input output devices, punched holes. So other input devices is this slides gives the list of other input devices, that is keyboard, mouse, scanner, pen, floppy, compact disc, hard disk, webcam, monitor. Okay students, so these are some of the examples of input devices which is shown in this slides as a picture. As a picture it is shown, you can see here, that is printer. This is dot matrix printer. Then you have mouse, keyboard. Okay, this is used keyboard used for games. This is a webcam, monitor. Okay, LCD monitors, hard disk you have here, floppy disk, compact disk, CD, hard disk, and then webcam. Okay, these are all input devices, examples of input devices. Now let us see what is output device. What is output device? What is an output device? A device used by the computer to display, pass on its contents, results or other information to the users in human readable form. Okay, so output devices are the devices used by the computer to display or pass on its contents, results or other information to the users in human readable form. So what are the output devices? That is monitor and printer. Okay students, so what are the output devices you have is monitor, LCD, that is a LCD type of monitor, printer, speaker, plotter, floppy, CD, pen, scanner. So examples of output devices you can see here, that is nothing but a here. This is monitor, LCD monitor, and this printer. Okay, color printer, laserjet printer. This is scanner, floppy disk, CD, pen drive, sound boxes, again monitor, and this is a printer. Okay students, dot matrix printer. This is dot matrix printer. So these are some of the examples of output devices. Now let us go into the other topic in today's class is keyboard. So what is a keyboard? Keyboard is similar to a typewriter but has certain additional control keys and function keys. So keyboard is an input device which is used for entering the data into the computer system. It is same like keyboard is similar to the typewriter, but only it has some additional control keys and function keys. When a key is pressed, the corresponding character is displayed on the screen. Okay students, when you press a key on the keyboard, its corresponding key is displayed on the screen, and simultaneously an appropriately coded series of electrical pulses are sent to the computer memory. Okay, and simultaneously what will happen? Some coded series of electrical pulses are sent to the computer memory. Okay students, Now let us proceed to the next slide. This is the layout of a keyboard. You can see the keyboard. Okay, this is a layout of keyboard. So here it is shown in colors. Okay, keyboard layout. See here, red. Red is red. He is showing as arrow keys. Here you can see the arrows keys here. These are the arrow keys. Then blue color, he's showing non-character keys. So blue color is nothing but escape key, tab key, caps lock key, shift, control, alt, enter, backspace, shift. Okay, and you have print screen, scroll lock, pause, break, then home, page up, page down, delete, and all these things are non-character keys. Okay, keyboard contains character keys and non-character keys, function keys, function keys, numeric pad keys. Okay students, arrow keys. So all these are different types of keys on the keyboard. The next one is the, this is a, this is nothing but you can say violet. These are the typing keys. So these are the things used for typing. So they are given the name typing keys. Then you have green, parrot green. These are function keys. Okay, these are all F1, F2, F3, F4, F5, F6, F7, F8. All these are function keys. Next, dark green is numeric pad key. This is numeric pad. Okay, you can see here. To type the numbers, you can use for quickly. To type numbers quickly, you can use the numeric pad key, which is on the right side of the keyboard. Okay, students. So these are the different keys of keyboard. That is arrow keys, non-character keys, typing keys, function keys, numeric pad keys. Okay, students. Let us proceed to the next slide. What are the functions of keyboard? What are the functions of keyboard? First function, a text-based input device that is used to type in letters, numbers and other characters. So it is a text-based input device. It is given the name. Why it is text-based input device? Because whatever the text letters, okay, letters, numbers and other characters you type will be entered into the computer system. Through keyboard, you can enter the letters, numbers and other characters. Second function of keyboard. Okay, student, you understood? What is a, what is first function of keyboard? A text-based input device that is used to type in letters, numbers and other characters. Second function of keyboard is consists of character keys which helps in pulling data and instructions into the computers. Character keys we have seen. So consist of characters keys which help in pulling data and instructions into the computer. Next function of keyboard. What is the third function of keyboard? Function keys which are called soft keys can be assigned any tasks by programs. So keyboard contains, which we have seen already, that is parts of keyboard, keys, different types of keys in keyboard, uh, in which we have seen that is a function keys. The name functions keys, the other name for function keys is soft keys. Okay, can be assigned any tasks by programs. Next function of keyboard is consists of non-character keys. So we have seen non-character keys which help in carrying out various other operations. Okay, it also consists of non-character keys which helps in carrying out various other operations. This is the fourth function of keyboard. Next is non-character keys. We have seen what are the non-character keys already seen in the picture. Enter, backspace, delete, control, alt, shift, tab, arrow keys, caps lock, escape, home, oblique end, page up, page down, function keys and number lock. Okay, these all keys are called non-character keys. Okay, students. So in today's class, so we have what are the topics we have discussed is what is a motherboard and what are the functions of motherboard, main board in the computer. That is a we have seen picture of the motherboard which is inside the CPU box, and also we have also discussed in today's class about the ports at the back of the CPU box. What are the ports that motherboard contains? And we have seen the list of input and output devices, okay, with examples. And we have seen what is keyboard, what is the layout of the keyboard, and what are the functions of keyboard in today's class. Okay, students. Now let us proceed to the quiz part. Now, in today's quiz, we have some questions. So, what is the first question we have in today's class is hardware refers to, that is, we have four options. A, the outside of a computer. B, any part of the computer that you can see or touch. C, the tools to repair the computer. D, computer instructions or programs that tell the hardware what to do. So, what is the answer here? B is the answer. So hardware refers to any part of the computer that you can see or touch. Okay, students. Now let us proceed to the next question of quizzes in today's class is information can be fed to the computer through which part? Information can be fed to the computer through which part? We have four options: printer, A, printer. B, floppy. C, input unit. D, central processing unit. So what is the answer here? Input unit. C, input unit. So input unit is a part which is used to feed the information into the computer system. Okay, students. Now let us go to the third question, quiz question. So what is the third quiz question? The commonly used input units are, what are the commonly used input units? A is giving the options: A, visual display unit. B, serial port. C, floppy disks and keyboard. D, microprocessor. So what is the answer here? Floppy disks and keyboard. So the commonly used input units in computers is floppy disks and keyboard. Okay, students. Now now in this slide it is giving the list of frequently asked questions in previous end exams. So what are the frequently asked questions in the previous end exams? First question is what is a motherboard? Second, explain the functions of motherboard. Third question is what is an input device and give examples. We have already seen in this class. I have already discussed you in the slides. What is output device and give examples. Fifth question, list various units of a computer. Sixth question, list various input and output devices. Seventh question, explain the features of keyboard. Okay, students. So these are the 7 questions which were previously asked in the end semester examination. Okay. No, in today's class, okay, students. So the topics we have actually discussed after the completing of class, you'll be able to understand. So I think you have already understood the topics which I have explained in today's class is what is motherboard, what are the functions of motherboard, and what are the ports connected to the CPU at the back, and what are the different types of input and output units, what is the layout of keyboard, what is a keyboard and what is layout of keyboard, and what are the functions of keyboard. Okay, students, I think you understood the topics which I have explained today. So I'll end the session here. So bye students, bye for now.